The story begins in the year 2084. We see a man named Douglas Quaid walking on the hills of Mars with his wife. Suddenly, his foot slips and he falls. His oxygen mask breaks in the fall and he begins to struggle severely for breath. Just then, his wife steps forward to save him, but at that moment, he wakes up. It was just a dream. His real wife, Lori, is with him. The woman he had in his dream on Mars was someone else. Quaid had this dream every day. He couldn't understand why he kept having this dream. What was his connection to Mars? He had never even been to Mars. He worked on a construction site on Earth. As he left for work, he saw a news report about Mars, which said that people were building new colonies there. A group of workers there was on strike. They had certain demands and insisted that work would only resume after they were met. All the excavation on Mars was being conducted by a man named Velos Kohagen. Perhaps on our Earth, it would be done by Elon Musk. This man was the governor there. All the laborers worked under him, and he subjected them to great oppression. In an interview, the governor was asked about the striking workers' claim that alien remains had been found on Mars. The governor flatly denied it, saying there was no such thing. In fact, an extremely unusual metal had been found during the excavation on Mars, a metal that is found only on Mars. This metal made the governor incredibly wealthy. Meanwhile, on the train to work, Quaid saw an advertisement for a company called Betrayal on TV. The company claimed that if you wanted to travel anywhere, there was no need to waste money. We will implant memories in your mind that will feel completely real. You will feel as if you have truly lived that life. Therefore, people were getting memories of their dream destinations implanted by Raquel, such as having gone to Mars, having visited the moon, anything they wished. The experience of visiting and living in such places would be formed as memories in people's minds, and this was only possible with Recall's unique technology. No one else possessed it. Quaid found the advertisement quite intriguing. He now suspected that his dreams had some connection to this company's work. He saw that Recall also offered an option to become a secret agent, where you save a girl, and that girl looked exactly like the one he saw in his daily dreams, the one he was with on Mars in his sleep. So, Quaid decided to visit the company to find out what was happening to him. But just before Quaid could be put into the machine, something suddenly went wrong. He began to lash out and attack the doctors. He became extremely aggressive, as if another personality had awakened inside him. The doctors managed to sedate him with great difficulty. They informed the owner of the Recall company about everything. Someone was called from there and dropped Quaid off at his home. A little later, when Quaid regained consciousness, he told his wife Lori everything about the strange machine, the advertisement, and his dreams. Lori calmed him down, saying, "No one tampered with your mind. It's all your delusion." Quaid showed his bloody hands and insisted everything he said was true, but Lori didn't believe him. As he went to the washroom to clean his hands, Lori secretly called a secret agent and said, "You need to get here immediately." As Quaid came out of the washroom, Lori attacked him. However, seeing the attack, Quaid's hands moved instinctively, as if by muscle memory. He easily subdued Lori, held her at gunpoint and asked, "Who are you?" Lori revealed, "I am not your wife." Hearing this, Quaid was stunned. He exclaimed, "But we've been together for 8 years." Lori told him, "It's all a lie. All this, these memories, this life, was put into your mind. I'm on a mission. That's why I've been living as your wife. I've only been with you for the past 6 weeks." Quaid now understood the truth. Just then, he saw on a screen that the secret agent Lori had called had arrived. Quaid knocked Lori unconscious and quickly fled. The secret agent Lori called was actually her real husband. Both husband and wife worked on a team. Now, the agent wanted to catch Quaid at any cost. Quaid began running around, trying to save his life and uncover the truth of the real memories hidden in his mind. He saw a hotel named Ritz. The name triggered some old memories. He went to a room in the hotel where he had been before, but he still couldn't recall everything clearly. Then, a man video called him and told Quaid that both of them, this man and Quaid, used to work for the governor on Mars. He warned Quaid that the governor wanted to catch him at any cost, and that he wouldn't be safe until he removed the tracking device from his brain. It's absolutely true. He has put a tracking device in your mind. The man also mentioned that he was holding a valuable item for Quaid, a bag that Quaid had asked him to keep safe. Quaid saw the man standing downstairs at the hotel with the bag. The man, Quaid's former colleague from Mars, left the bag and drove away. Quaid went downstairs and retrieved the bag. As he was trying to leave, the governor's secret agents attacked him. But Quaid managed to escape somehow. He went to an old factory and opened the bag. It contained a lot of money, some strange weapons, and most importantly, a videotape on which he had recorded a message for himself earlier. Watching the video, Quaid learned that his real name was Carl. The video also confirmed that the striking workers on Mars were right, because something wrong was happening there. Right here, Quaid, now Carl, removed the tracking device from his brain. After this, he decided to go to Mars. The bag also contained a ticket to Mars. Carl changed his appearance and arrived on Mars. Meanwhile, the secret agent also reached the location where Carl, Quaid, had seen all the evidence, and after some searching, the agent found out that Carl had gone to Mars. He, too, immediately headed for Mars, following Carl. As the agent arrived at the Mars airport, he spotted Carl, but Carl quickly boarded a train and left. The train took him to a colony on Mars. The entire colony was covered with a dome to supply oxygen. Carl went to a hotel here, where a note was waiting for him. The note instructed him to meet Melina. A taxi driver helped him and took him to Melina. Upon arrival, Carl saw many sick people there. Their faces looked very strange, almost alien-like. The taxi driver explained that the wall, dome, covering the colony was very weak. Due to the weak dome, the outside environment had a terrible effect on the people. Their faces had begun to change. They were infected by the outside air. Carl met Melina, and he was astonished to see her, as she was the woman from his dreams. Melina was very angry with him and asked why Carl had left her alone. Carl explained how he had been on Earth and had all his memories erased, but Melina didn't believe him. She even pointed a gun at him. Melina believed Carl was working for the governor and had come to kill the striking people on Mars. Angry, Melina told Carl to leave because she couldn't trust him anymore. A little later, a doctor came to Carl. He told Carl that none of this was real. It was all happening in his mind. "You are still in the recal machine. There was a malfunction in the machine, which is why you are stuck here. I've come to get you. Come with me." The doctor said that Carl's wife was also there, and when he opened the door, there was Lori. Carl was completely confused. He couldn't figure out if he was Carl or Douglas, but Quaid/Carl didn't give up. To find the truth, he pointed his gun at the doctor. He challenged him. "This is all in my mind, right? If I kill you here, what difference does it make? You'll still be alive, won't you?" Hearing this, the doctor started to sweat. Before Carl could shoot the doctor, Lori summoned some men. These men began to attack Carl. Carl was knocked unconscious in the fight, and they started to take him to the governor. But then Melina arrived. Seizing the opportunity, she attacked the men. Lori was killed in the attack, and Melina took Carl to the place where all the people who were opposing the governor lived. These were the people who were severely affected by the environment. Some had twisted faces and bodies, and they did not want the company run by the governor to continue oppressing everyone. They were determined not to let what happened to them happen to anyone else. The governor found out that Carl had been taken to the place where all his enemies lived. Following this, the governor cut off the oxygen supply to that area and made an announcement. If Carl and Melina were not handed over to him, the oxygen supply would be cut off permanently and everyone would suffocate and die. Carl was then taken to their leader, named George. The leader asked Carl what secret was hidden in the pyramid, a place no one was allowed to enter, that made the governor so desperate to eliminate Carl. Carl replied that he didn't remember anything. His memories had been forcibly erased. However, it was certain that Carl held some secret of the governor, which was why the governor wanted to capture and kill him. George then said he wanted Carl to meet Quato. Quato was the leader of the people opposing the governor. No one had ever seen Quato. Furthermore, the governor was also desperate to meet Quato, because if Quato was killed, all the opposition would automatically quiet down. George took Carl into a room. George took off his shirt, revealing a strange sight. There was another living creature on George's abdomen. This creature had grown near George's stomach due to the effects of the environment caused by the thin dome. The most mind-boggling twist was that this creature was Quato. This meant that Quato was none other than George himself. After this creature grew on George's stomach, he gained an extraordinary power. He could read people's minds. Although Carl's memories had been erased, somewhere in his mind was still hidden the key to the secret of the pyramid, the one the governor was trying to hide from everyone. Quato held Carl's hand to peer into his mind. He discovered that the pyramid contained a reactor that aliens had built there 500,000 years ago, and the governor did not want any human to know about this place. The governor wanted to destroy this reactor. While Quato was looking into Carl's mind, the governor's men attacked. Carl tried to wake George, but since he was connected to Carl's mind at that moment, he couldn't wake up and was struck by a blow, severely injuring him. Before dying, Quato told Carl that he had to go into the pyramid and activate the reactor at all costs, so that the planet could be saved from the governor's tyranny and a normal life, like on Earth, could be lived here. Soon, the governor's men captured Carl and Melina and presented them to him. The governor was delighted by Quato's death. He congratulated Carl and revealed the whole truth. The governor explained that Carl actually worked for him. He had led everyone to believe that Carl was his enemy and wanted to kill him. On the governor's command, Carl had met Melina and trapped her in his love to find Quato. However, Melina knew nothing about Quato. Therefore, in Plan B, Carl was sent to Earth and then, with full planning, brought back to Mars to meet Melina again. This time, when Carl's life was in danger, the others couldn't help but lead him to Quato. But the governor did not know that Quato had the power to read minds. He didn't know that Quato had peered into Carl's mind and seen everything. If the reactor there were activated, the environment on Mars would become exactly like Earth's. In fact, there were still very large glaciers beneath the surface, and activating the reactor would cause them to melt. As they melted, the atmosphere would become Earth-like, allowing people to live easily, and more people would settle there, leading to the establishment of a government, and the governor's control over Mars would end. Who wants to lose power? So the governor did not want the reactor to be activated under any circumstances. In fact, he wanted to destroy it forever, to eliminate any possibility of his defeat. He ordered his men to erase all of Carl's and Melina's memories, so that they would work for him again as before. Although Carl was not a good person before, he had changed. This time he was on the side of the people suffering under the governor's oppression. The governor's men seated Carl and Melina in the chairs that would erase their memories and fill their minds with new ones. However, Carl somehow managed to free his hand and started killing all the doctors present. One by one, he took them all down. After this, he took Melina with him. When they reached inside the pyramid, they found nothing. Then suddenly, one of the governor's goons tried to crush them with a very dangerous and large drilling machine. Carl and Melina shot the machine multiple times, but it had no effect. They had no way to escape. Carl saw a small drill nearby. He picked it up and continuously drilled into the large machine's fuel pipe. It seemed like they would be killed. The machine began to break the surrounding rocks, but at the last moment, Carl finally pierced the fuel pipe, which stopped the machine. The machine stopped, and Carl moved forward, drilled into the driver's door, and finished off the goon as well. Meanwhile, Melina informed him that the wall behind them had been broken by the machine, and there was a very large reactor inside. As they moved up, many goons were waiting in ambush. Carl was moving forward alone when many goons shot him with bullets. But nothing happened to him because it wasn't Carl, but just a high-tech hologram, which you could think of as an advanced, realistic video. As soon as the goons stopped attacking, Carl suddenly shot at them from behind. Many goons were killed. Melina also took down 2 more using the same technique. Now, only the governor's right-hand man, the main guy, remained, who took the opportunity to escape in a lift. But Carl also made a jump at the last moment and got into the lift. A fierce fight broke out between the two. Both were excellent fighters, but then Carl, using his impressive technique, lifted the goon and slammed him down. But the goon was still hanging from the edge. When Carl came to push him off, the goon grabbed Carl, saying, "I'll take you with me to death." Carl looked up and saw they were very close to a wall, so he pulled himself back a little. The goon's arms were torn off between the wall and the lift. The lift took Carl straight to the button to activate the reactor, but the governor was already there. He had a bomb. He tried to convince Carl that if the reactor was activated, the entire planet Mars would be destroyed. But when Carl didn't believe him, the governor aimed his gun at him. But before he could shoot Carl, Melina arrived and shot the governor multiple times. Even in his injured state, the governor activated the bomb. But before it could explode, Carl threw it away. A massive explosion followed. Due to the explosion, the governor and his men fell outwards, and the area where they fell had no shield. Consequently, the outside atmosphere affected them, and Carl was about to fall too. But before falling, he activated the reactor. He fell outside with Melina. He also began to be affected. But in the next moment, the reactor started working, and all the glaciers melted. Oxygen began to flow into the area. Over time, the atmosphere became Earth-like, and Carl and Melina began to recover. The planet was now fully habitable for humans. A life could easily be lived here. Carl was overjoyed to see all this. But then a thought crossed his mind. What if this was also some trick of his mind? But then Melina came close to him, and he understood that this was not a dream, but reality.
If you want interesting movie recaps, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.